Yeah, sorry. Chris Higgin, yeah, he just does the damn thing. He is the hatchet man. Fucking Ben. Okay, my tea is ready.
And we've been live for the past 30 seconds, and I purposefully didn't tell you, so you would just keep speaking.
So I
Uh,
can keep talk. I would say I can talk about The Bachelor more.
yeah, so let's get this show on the road. Hello, everybody out there in Streamland. My name is Billy Rothard, aka Rothgar. I am joined by the lovely Lindsay the Destroyer. This is sort of an impromptu, unplanned little segment of the Giantbomb Community Endurance Run. Today, we did a lot of stuff. We did a lot of cool events, and oh man, we did. There were speed run racing. There was, we did a game show like best of nine random competitive games. I think Foot Lunky happened today. I think somebody played Spelunky with his feet today. Like a lot of just cool shit went down. What else cool happened was we had this awesome donation basket. Compliments of Bits and Pixels in Carytown, well, in Richmond, Virginia, and that just sold for a whopping 100 euros. So a
Thank
little
you guys.
little round of applause to everybody who participated in the streams and promoting it, and big thanks to you, Lindsay and Bits and Pixels, for that generous donation, which has gone a long way to helping some kids get a little bit of education. So, tell me a little bit about what Bits and Pixels is.
Well, it's a very small retro game store out in Virginia. We also do things, we sell anime and manga there as well. We have a whole section for like local artists to bring in their video game art to display. And yeah, it's we run tournaments sometimes. Just an all-around good place to come in, talk about video games, and meet cool
Now,
people.
what do you think would separate a place like Bits and Pixels? You guys are currently just like a standalone shop, is that correct?
Yeah.
What do you think would separate something like you guys from a chain of game stores? What's some of the major differences?
Well, I say one of the big things is the local artist stuff. Like honestly, I haven't seen that in any other stores, and it's a really great way to like engage with the community in general and get people with artistic talent to meet each other. Yeah, I'm really glad that we do that. Honestly, that and we try to feel the love for all games, even the ones we may not personally like. We do try to appreciate the effort for all games because somebody had to make that.
I mean, yeah,
Every game is
games.
someone's life's work.
Oh God, yeah. Like I think tomorrow I'm gonna play a game called Creatures, and I don't
And
know.
see, yeah, some guy spent so much time making that game, and I'm
And
sure he's happy someone's still playing.
there's somebody out there in the world whose favorite game is Creatures. Because that's the game that when their grandma bought them a PlayStation 1 from a yard sale and it had creatures stuck inside the disc tray and they couldn't get it out, that's what that kid got to play for 9 years.
Real
And
quick though,
what's
is
up?
that the game where like you raise the tiny little like gremlin looking things? Yeah,
Yes.
no, I was one of those kids. I had it for my PC.
I'm sorry. Wait, hold on. You need to give me some tips and tricks right now because
Oh,
I've
I don't
never
think I ever like figured out how to do it successfully, but I liked the overall idea, but I think a lot of my creatures died.
I'm planning
Much like
on
my Tamagotchi.
murdering lots of little creatures. It's going to be a creature genocide tomorrow, and I've never been one for mass extinction, but I feel like I'm just going to be in a mood.
Plus they're kind of creepy looking.
Gino just shut me down. I'm not allowed to get any tips and tricks from a former creatures player. Gino just barged in here like, "What's going on in here?" Just-
See, I'm not sure if playing the PC version would help you anyway.
Probably not. I think this is like a PS2 reboot or something. Oh my god, I have no idea what's going on. Um, so yeah, I actually have been a personal shopper of Bits and Pixels. Not to reveal anything about myself or where I live, but it is an awesome place. I've been there many times for many years. And one of my favorite things about Bits and Pixels is that you've got setups all along the wall where at any given moment there's like a game from 5 years ago just ready to play. There's a game from 20 years ago just ready to play. You can request to have almost any game off the shelf put into a console and test it out for a little while before you actually drop dollar bills on it. What inspired that kind of setup, and how has it affected, you know, I guess the business model? That's kind of unusual for some popular chains that I see around town.
Oh yeah, because I mean, it does take a little bit more of an effort. You have to go switch out everything, and also keep it on lockdown. But yeah, it really helps us because basically we just want to make sure that everybody is going home with something they're gonna love. Like, there's nothing more disappointing than buying a game and you get home and it's not what you thought it was. So if you're unsure, yeah, we'll basically do everything that we can to make sure you're happy with it, whether it's play the game. A lot of the time we have the big television behind the counter. We'll bring up gameplay footage for people. Reviews, basically any information that's going to help them go home with the right thing. Especially if it's a parent looking for something for their child, it can get a little difficult.
True, moms and dads don't know, like, hey, what is this, Mad World? Say, do you think
That's
this would be
like
good for?
my
It's so
my
cartoony. My
second favorite
9-year-old
game.
should love it. Level
Actually,
one.
any adult that comes in and asks, they're like, well, I got a Wii for my kids. Is there anything for me to play? I'm like, Mad World. Take this. Don't let your children have it, but you're going to love it.
I've been recommending Bayonetta to people that are like, hey, my kid has a Wii U. You know, I'm tired of looking at like Animal Crossing, like what is it, City Folk or whatever the Wii U one. I
Oh,
don't
wait,
remember. It's
don't
not
they
City
just,
Folk.
no, it's on the 3DS they released the Animal
I,
Crossing. I think,
City Folk I think is 3DS.
or no, New Leaf is for 3DS. City Folk was the original DS, and then,
Oh,
or no, Wild World was the DS. City Folk was the Wii.
I'm so behind the times on this stuff. Like
There's
I need
so
to I need
many.
to step up the game. Well, anyway, like a parent that says I am gonna shoot myself if I have to look at any more, little chibi, dogs pulling weeds. Can I get some explosions? Oh yeah, like pick up some Bayonetta. It'll be good. It's basically Devil May Cry with a sexy witch lady. You're gonna be having a good time. So a couple
Hmm.
more, one more thing that I wanted to ask. You guys don't sell just games. You mentioned earlier that you are in touch with a lot of artists or local like craft makers. Like, how did
Oh yeah.
that come about? Was that a plan from the start, or did people like approach you about it?
Well, I say, I've worked there for years and years and years, and it was a thing even before I worked there. But yeah, it would just seems like a good way, honestly, to engage with the community. Like, they support us, coming in and purchasing and telling everybody how cool we are and stuff, and it helps us give back a little bit. And plus, I mean, people make some awesome video game stuff, and it makes our store look cooler too, having all those prints around.
It certainly is appealing from the street view to just like walk by and there's like a little cross stitch like Metroid or something in the window. I'm like, I want to get that. I, that needs to be over my dining room table, you know? Um, just like a ballpark, how many vendors, or I guess you should say like creators, are you working with at any given time? Does it like cycle throughout the different holiday seasons, or is it have like peaks and valleys?
It does cycle a little bit. Usually, if somebody moves out of town, they'll generally take their stuff with them. But yeah, at any given time, we also always have at least five. Depending what kind of things. A lot of it does depend on the space in the store. Like right now, I'm trying to figure out the people we have who do 3D printing just sent us a beautiful master sword that I have no idea where to put.
Can you hold that for me? And I'm gonna come back to town soon, and I might be looking at that. Uh,
Yeah, shout out to 3D Central.
oh
They
man,
actually do a lot of costuming stuff for me as well.
wow. Yeah, and speaking of costuming, there's lots of costumes in the window too. Like, where did those costumes come from?
I made them. Yeah, we wanted to do something more interesting with the window, and so we looked up how much a mannequin is, and she happens to be my size and also look a lot better in some of those costumes than I do. But
I mean, when the human body doesn't have to actually do things like move or walk or sit
yeah.
down or function in any way, I guess costuming becomes a little bit easier.
Well, yeah,
So
doing face paint is so easy when you can just pull the head off and put it
yeah,
on the
right. Just like
floor.
hold it right in your hand. It's a little like skull drawing. Get a little Hamlet action going and just make sure it's all right. So now we've talked a little bit about why bits and pixels is so different, but it wasn't always bits and pixels before. You guys went through sort of a
Mhm.
transitional phase in there a couple years ago. Tell me a little bit about what happened there.
Well, previously we were a play and trade, and then play and trade just started going in a different direction. Like, started doing like more tablets and things like that. Personally, I don't know anything about tablets, so wouldn't been very good at that. Plus, we also wanted to expand and start taking like the anime and manga and everything, and kind of go away from like brand new games. Because as a small business, honestly, like brand new games, unless you can buy a million copies of it,
They're probably pretty
like,
expensive per unit.
yeah, they are expensive, and we just didn't have a great demand for them. So yeah, we wanted to focus on older things, be able to have our vendors and our anime stuff, and just move in a different direction, basically, than that company was going.
Now, sort of separately from Bits and Pixels, like in real life, I also work for a business that is a part of a large franchise. Not going to mention what that is in particular, but I know what it's like to have sort of the comfort of a franchise because there's a sort of like cushion where like corporate's going to make sure you don't absolutely fail and explode. Like they're
Yeah.
going to have a lot of your bases covered, but at the same time you have a little tiny bit less freedom. It's like it's like an exchange, a little bit more security, but you have to play by a certain set of rules. I can imagine it might have been pretty scary taking some of those first initial leaps from franchise land to like this sort of grassroots, oh no, we're our own entity
Oh,
now. How
yeah.
was that transition?
I mean, it was difficult, but at the same time, like honestly, our store is very lucky. We're in an area that is basically all privately owned local businesses. So instead of the support from the franchise, we got a lot of support from the community. Yeah, I mean it's an area where people go to shop for local goods, and they're more than happy to come into a local place instead of a franchise. We got a lot of support from the city of Richmond. Everybody was 100% on board and actually very happy that we became our own entity.
Yeah, personally, I know just from that part of town, the more local, the more grassroots, the more hipster you can be. Typically, the more people are gonna just eat your shit up.
Oh
Like, I
yeah,
mean,
for a bunch of nerds, we try to stay pretty hip.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, so what, like, you said something about the community and how much they were really helping you out. Um, I guess how involved do you get with events and other businesses outside of sort of the day-to-day tasks? You guys participate in any other events? First of all, you guys are participating in the Giantbomb Community Endurance Run.
Oh
That's
yeah.
pretty awesome. But have you done anything like this before? Anything similar in this nature?
Yeah, I mean we've always worked with Extra Life, the charity that does the 24-hour gaming event. To the extent we there's we haven't done this in a couple years, but we actually used to hold the 24-hour gaming in the store, and I had somebody try to come buy something at like 4 a.m.
I mean,
Like, are you
did you
not really open? I'm like, no, there's no money in here.
guys, like we're open, we're just having fun, but like there's no actual sales happening.
Yeah, everything's in the safe.
I
We're
don't want to
just
go
playing
bust
Guitar
up a
Hero.
roll of quarters right now. Like I just rolled them up.
But yeah, we've always been involved with that, and honestly, we're basically down for anything we can help with. We've done donations for all kinds of charities and auctions and everything, and yeah, basically any way we can help people, we're more than happy to do.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the whole idea is just like group hug, friendship with everybody, and it all just creates this beautiful synergy of, I guess like positive vibes back and forth, but also mutually assured success, right? And that's what the name of the game is.
Exactly.
So, a couple of more targeted questions. Um, when you are, waking up in the day in the morning and you're about to step into the office, what are some of the challenges you're preparing yourself to face, or what are some of the really enriching moments that you're looking forward to?
Well, some of the challenges definitely are, besides that, there's always the regular like retail things, and especially when you're working with like used objects. I mean, I would have to have like 10 people working 24 hours a day to completely 100% test everything.
Yeah,
Yeah, I need somebody just there for 80-hour JRPGs. Actually, I need a couple people just for that.
I mean,
But
you guys have some great stuff. You have like first generation like NES for sale, and like
oh yeah.
where else are you going to get that stuff besides like a specialty website? But I can walk into a store and like pick it up and say, hey, I had this when I was 9. Like, can I buy this right now? Yeah.
Oh yeah, and we replaced the pin connectors and everything, and yeah, we do our best. Like I said, you can't play through an entire JRPG and do the whole thing, but we do spend a lot of time cleaning, testing, making sure that everything is up to the standards. Because yeah, we just want everybody to be happy with all their stuff.
What's some of the stuff that you look
And then
forward to? Yeah.
one of my favorite things, honestly, is I I've had the chance to hire a lot of women, which has been really great because we get a lot of like young girls and families and helping. I remember going in game stores when I was a little girl and it not being a great experience. Luckily, my parents are both like wonderful advocates and are more than happy to tell a salesperson, no, we do not need the Mary Kate and Ashley game. She likes the space shooters. We need something like that.
Very cool.
But yeah, being able to help somebody in a similar situation find what they're looking for and having that's going to continue their love of gaming. And being able to make them feel included in this world that can be a little intimidating sometimes.
So I guess we answered the question already.
Really love that.
Why do you do this?
Yeah.
Well, why don't you go ahead and flesh out that thought just a little bit more? I guess I kind of want to hear a little bit more about your experience. Not only because you are, in fact, the store like supervisor, manager.
And the manager.
Yeah. So, without getting too deep into the hierarchy, how many people do you directly answer to?
I answer to the store owner.
Okay, and how many people answer to you?
I gotta think about how many people.
Numbers. Oh no, counting.
It's one of those things like when somebody checks your ID and they ask you how old you are, and that's the moment you're like, oh my god, how old am I?
Oh man, do the math.
But yeah, there's about 5 people, and then of course me and the store owner actually we work very closely together to make a lot of the major decisions.
Very cool, very cool. So that said, yeah, it is unfortunately, but kind of cool, out of the ordinary that a female is in this sort of like higher managerial role in an industry that is typically, though incorrectly assumed to be male dominated in this sense as far as the consumer side goes. I mean, I think we have data and analytics to support that the consumers of games is pretty close to 50-50. It's like 55-45, like way closer now than what people think. Oh, it's like 10% of gamers are girls or whatever. So how does that sort of feel knowing that you're breaking the mold a little bit, but also, hey, this is a thing too. Girls can be business owners and business managers and gamers.
Yeah, I would say it definitely feels good, honestly. For myself, I just want other people to know that they can do that too. Because there was definitely, I mean, when I was really, really little, like, games were kind of for everybody, for children generally.
Right, kids games are for everybody.
they hadn't really even started targeting the adult market. But yeah, there was definitely that like teenage time when nobody wanted to play with me anymore. And yeah, I had to wait till college to get back into it. But
I think we all hit a little bit of that social stigma. I mean, people that are our age, somewhere between like 20 and 30 years old kind of age, um, we probably all went through this time if we are gamers now and we were gamers growing up, where games changed a lot, like in the late 90s, like early
I remember
2000s.
exactly when games changed. When I went to my friend Kayla's house and she put in Final Fantasy VII in the computer. Yes, it was also on the PC.
Yes, it was. Gino
in
would
that
be here to
awesome trapezoidal box.
Gino would be here to say, yeah, Final Fantasy VII was released on the on this date. Guess
For
guess
a
when I
while,
got
I
it.
thought I hadn't played that game just because we played it on the computer and everybody would only talk about it on the PlayStation. And then I thought, like, no, I've gone through that. But yeah, and I remember sitting there with her being like, people made things that look like people. The whole world is going to be different now. And then it was. Oh, it felt so good. But
people
yeah, I
made
want everybody to
characters
be
that
able to
look
have
like
those
people.
moments.
Was that what did it for you, when they sort of like made characters that looked kind of like people?
That was a big defining moment in my like fascination with technology in general. The fact that human beings made this amazing, beautiful thing that probably doesn't look as great as it does in my head. But still.
Now, when we think about Final Fantasy VII in particular, but also the whole Enix, like Square Enix,
Oh yeah,
team
I was
and
a big
stuff.
fan of Secret of Evermore before that, but
some of us that have played the game recently remember, oh wow, Cloud has a total of 9 polygons. But then there's also these beautiful pre-rendered cutscenes that are, for the time, incredibly lifelike and just profound. Oh man, wonderful. So I definitely can relate to you having that sort of like visceral experience of this is when gaming turned on for you, like, oh, like wow, this is like a new medium.
Previous to that, I honestly got really into gaming with the Nintendo 64 just because my favorite room at the art museum
best console
was for these dioramas, and the 64, it was like dioramas that I could interact with and peek behind the door in the back. It was like a big art installation I could walk through.
What were some of your top games for the N64? This is actually a test.
My favorite game of all time forever is Star Fox 64.
Okay, I can get behind that.
And I can't believe they finally made me another core Star Fox game. I'm acquiring a Wii U right now.
It just came out, right? What is it, Star Fox Zero or something?
It comes out on the 22nd.
Get lit. I'm so hyped for Star Fox Zero. If it plays...
need to fly my sister in to play with me.
Does it have co-op?
It does. It has a really weird co-op, but I'm more interested because the multiplayer for 64, like, we used to throw controllers during that.
Really? Did it get
I want
heated?
to recreate that.
I mean, I guess the real question is, like, did you do a barrel roll?
I knew how to do a barrel roll, and I was the only one.
Now we understand why controllers were getting you hacked into the game and created this new move. You're cheating. Throw the controller. Yeah, so retro gaming, I guess I got a better appreciation for it when I was older. Looking back in time and seeing how things developed, how things grew and like evolved. And I think for me, N64 has my best memories. And then the Nintendo GameCube has sort of my most hours. Like, I think as far as actually like games owned and games played, I probably played more GameCube games than anything, but my N64 has the best memories for sure. Games like Super Mario 64, Banjo-Kazooie.
I still play through Banjo-Kazooie once a year to 100% it.
Really?
Like, just in case. I need to make sure it's still good, and you know what? It is, except for Rusty Bucket Bay.
Oh,
it's still the worst level ever.
Rusty Bucket Bay
I don't
is
care
not
about
fun.
that Jiggy under the propeller.
Bad music, bad textures everywhere.
And the music is so good in the rest of the game. I actually got to meet GrantKirkhope recently.
Really? Tell me about that.
It was really great. I was very happy to be able to express to him, because Click Clock Woods is one of my
So
favorite
good.
levels of anything, and especially being a small child, and there's this big world and the music changed with the seasons, and
Yeah.
that added so much to it, and just being able to tell him that was really wonderful.
For me, it was Treasure Trove Cove. That was sort of like the complete package of Banjo-Kazooie game design, like game level design for me was Treasure Trove Cove. But yeah, so we're definitely nerding out over that.
Just a little.
Just a little bit. Yeah, N64, one of the best consoles, especially when you have to take that cartridge, just kind of go like,
And they're nearly indestructible.
do the little harmonica motion. Oh yeah, because they're made of Nintendium. That
Yeah, you
shit
can
never
like melt
breaks.
half a cartridge and it just right in there. My 64
Good to
has
roll.
lived in different countries and cross continents, and it's still going.
Yeah, there's multiple Nintendo consoles at my house that have just been untouched for years that I fired up last week, and it was like they were never out of commission for a day. Just pop it right
Yeah.
in. Your memory cards are still good. They just live in the console, so like they might as well be fused in.
Just glue
Right.
it in there. It's
Yeah.
fine. But yeah, see, everybody deserves to have those experiences.
hmm
That's
So
I'm bringing it around.
yeah, I mean we're so this is I guess like why you do this. Why? So you have had all these cool experiences. You're now able to give these experiences to other people as a you know authoritative figure, but also participating in this small business of a game store, and not just any game store, a pretty unique game store. So do you have any like really cool stories or any cool stories to share from like I guess you maybe changed a person's life or something? I hope I'm not setting you up for
I do have
uh,
one, but it's more like somebody did something awesome for me.
okay, yeah, sure. I mean,
So,
it's all about the community and stuff.
when I was one of the games I loved when I was a kid was Neverhood, which oh my gosh, I still love Neverhood.
Never heard of
Still
it.
looking for a copy of Skull Monkey. It was a completely claymation point and click adventure game.
That sounds disgusting.
And it was made by the people from Team Shiny who did like Earthworm Jim. They broke off and made their own team to make Neverhood.
I
And
played
yeah,
Earthworm
and
Jim once.
it's go back that and Boogerman, amazing.
Ugh,
But
okay. You're losing me there,
Pick
okay.
a Slick Adventure. But
Oh God.
this guy comes in the store and we have a copy of Earthworm Jim up there, and he points it out. He's like, "Oh, can you get this out for me?" I'm like, "Oh, no big deal. Get it out." And he turns to the girl with him. He's like, "See, I worked on this." And I just looked at him. I'm like, "You're a part of Team Shiny?" He's like, "Yeah, I am." And I looked at him like, "What's your name?" His name was Joe. Big Head Joe came in the store, and anybody else who's played Neverhood is way too excited right now. Yeah, I managed to keep it together, talk to him for a good 30 minutes. I got to tell him how much that game affected my life, and talked about Skull Monkeys and they just had a Kickstarter and a new project come out. If I try to say it, I'm going to butcher the name, so I'll avoid that. But yeah, I got to tell him all about that. And the second he left, I laid on the floor and cried for 10 minutes.
Only 10 minutes?
I'm just surprised I kept it together the entire time. But that was one of the most amazing things that has ever happened at work.
I mean, only at a place like Bits and Pixels can that actually happen. Hang on, you cut out for just 1 second.
Yeah, my phone decided to tell me I have 20% battery.
That's totally
Now
fine.
you all know that too.
Yeah, but like I was saying, so only at a place like Bits and Pixels could something like that happen. This like sort of under the radar, but meeting and exceeding everyone's expectations kind of place, as opposed to your typical game shop chain, right? And I think that's what makes you guys unique, and what makes this sort of small business model, really different than others. So is there any sort of like closing thoughts that you might have about being a game shop, like being a game store manager or running this kind of business, or any tips that you might, any words of wisdom for someone else who might be in a similar position as you, but maybe they're not having as much of a fun time. Maybe they haven't seen Big Head Joe yet, so.
But I still can't believe that happened. But I don't know. The biggest thing is just finding joy and just being able to help somebody. Like my favorite thing about my job is seeing that that smile on somebody's face. Like I know how I feel about my game collection, and especially their particular ones where like oh my gosh, I would like sleep with them at night. And yeah, seeing that look of joy, if somebody's about to like go on, this amazing 10-hour adventure, and it's so rewarding. Of course, like I said, there's all the regular retail malarkey. There's always going to be unhappy
Sales
people.
type stuff, yeah.
But yeah, for every angry person, there is a kid who just got exactly what they wanted, and them and their parent are going to play together and have maybe get closer having this experience. And
Do you ever feel like
feels
it's a
good.
similar experience to like giving away a really good book you just read to somebody and knowing that they're
Yeah.
gonna get the same story out of it?
I've talked to like the people at Chop Suey before, and it's very similar. They get the same like warm fuzzy feeling when somebody is really excited about a book, and yeah, it's just how much you love these things. Sharing it always it feels amazing.
Well, I certainly am envy. It seems like that's the kind of the kind of job a fellow nerd, fellow gamer could only dream of. I'm over here in regular corporate land, and I get to be a gamer on the weekends, but you get to flaunt and just live in this wonderful Narnia world from 9 to 5, and then you can stay if you want to after that. So there's a little bit of jealousy,
Even
but
though I
also
gotta say though, if anyone from Grasshopper Manufacturer is watching, give me a job there. But
Gr-
that's it.
grasshopper manufacturers. Who are they? Forgive me for being completely ignorant.
Studio 51. That's his
Ugh.
studio, and they make like Lollipop Chainsaw and
Oh,
Killer
okay.
7
Now we
and
got it. Killer 7.
yeah,
Okay. Whew.
Michigan Report from Hell. Like,
If I could wave a magic wand and just work for any game company, I'd go Insomniac. I was
but
a
yeah, everybody has their dream company.
That or Supergiant Games. I would really love to work for Supergiant. I did get to meet. Actually, we were able to speak last year in a similar type setup with Greg Kasavin, who was I'm gonna get his title wrong. He was like lead writer and also level designer or something like that on Bastion. And this was shortly after Transistor came out, I think. But we were able to
Such a
talk to,
beautiful game.
yeah, both of those games were just top notch. And we were able to play a little bit of it last year, talk to Greg. Unfortunately, all that content was lost to the ages. So, if you're watching the Giantbomb Community Endurance Run, you could see some one-of-a-kind gems, some once-in-a-lifetime moments, right? I'm pretty sure, flip a coin, I have archived this content, so we won't actually lose it forever and ever. But just be aware for all of you out there in Streamland, how how important it is to stay tuned for these kind of events. And with that said, I'm actually going to hop into the chat, uh, and I want to see if there's anyone that has been chattering at all. And if you are in the chat right now and listening to this, if anyone can hear me, go ahead and throw out any questions you might have. I got about 5 more minutes of stuff that I want to just chat about with Miss Lindsay the Destroyer here. And and if you want to get any question in, drop it into the Twitch chat. I'll see if we can read it. If not, I think there's only a couple people in here and they may be AFK, but I guess want to shout out and have that opportunity if they want to participate as well. So on that note, we would like to have you on a Deep Listens podcast. How
Yay.
does that sound? Pretty cool.
I guess I can, make time in my busy schedule.
Right, just come on a cool podcast. No big deal.
That would be
So
most excellent.
so what can the listeners look forward to us chatting about? I mean, I know we want to talk a little bit about cosplay life, costume creation life. What else?
Well, one of my big focus with my costumes is finding ways to make it accessible and affordable for everybody. Because I feel like a lot of people think there's this big, like, especially financial barrier to entry, and yeah, there's totally ways to get around that. I've given a lot of panels about that. So that, and I'm always up for talking about the Nintendo 64 forever. Or I have a lot of feelings about a lot of video games. I know it's very surprising. But yeah, and of course, happy to answer any questions about like women in gaming or anything from my personal perspective. I am not going to pretend like I speak for
Oh, right.
everyone.
Making wild massive generalizations, of course. That has only gotten me into so much fun. Um, making wild generalizations. Yeah, so I think it'd be great. We'll talk about that whole costume culture, talk about girls and gaming in general. That's one of my favorite d- d- discussion topics is how gaming and sort of gender play off of one another and how we are both creating positive new images while at the same time sort of like breaking down these kind of like stale old stereotypes that used to be there. But then again, not that they're necessarily bad, but they just evolve from a very specific like storytelling medium, and they had to evolve, they had to grow in order to fit
Just
sort of
like
like a
every
new,
other
yeah.
artistic medium.
hmm So that'll be pretty awesome. People that are listening now can go look forward to that in the next 2-3 weeks or so. I think we'll probably record it next weekend and then throw it out.
Or the weekend after,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I'm going to be at PAX East.
Oh, I'll be at PAX.
Oh, are we going to high five? Do you want to do the Diddy Kong Racing tournament with me? Because I am so into that.
Is that like a doubles thing?
No, I mean, I'm going to wipe the floor with you, but you should come and enter.
What day is it?
That is on, I want to say it's on Friday.
Because I have Friday and Saturday tickets, but I'm not going on Sunday.
But yeah, basically my goal is Diddy Kong Racing Tournament and meet Suda because I want Senpai to notice me so bad.
Notice me, please. All right, fine. Then yeah. Actually, I forgot that I'm going to PAX, so I'm not going to be around to do a podcast exactly next weekend. But yeah, so we will put out some kind of cool content with Lindsay the Destroyer. Keep an eye out for that. I'm going to plug all that media really quick. That's going to be on the Deep Listens podcast, which is what Gino, that Pinguino Greco, and I do on a weekly basis. We have our main show bi-weekly, and we also have in-between podcasts, which is what this one's going to be, sort of talking to cool game people, talking to developers, interviewing players, interviewing local professionals, things like that. So Lindsay here is going to be providing us some really cool content in the next week or so. In that area. In order to find us, you can just Google us. You can search us on Google now, which is kind of a new thing. You can just Google search Deep Listens Podcast, and we're like the first result, which is neat and new. That wasn't the case last month. You can also hit us up. You can send emails to deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. Hit us up on Twitter and other social media and stuff like that. It's at deeplistenspod. So we're on iTunes, we're on Libsyn, we're on Stitcher, we're on Radio FM, all the good shit. Go find Deep Listens Podcast, hit us up, follow, subscribe, so you can hear us talk not only about cool games, but talk to cool people like Lindsay. So do you have anything you want to plug before we wrap it up?
Bits and Pixels in Carytown in Richmond, Virginia. If you're anywhere around there, come by and see us.
Do you guys have any online presence, like social media online?
We have a Facebook.
Great. Just
Because,
go like their Facebook page.
Yeah, anybody separating from a franchise, just so you know, Google is a real pain in the butt about that. So we have a Facebook.
Basically, have to. It's like moving to a new apartment and having to like change every forwarding address for the last
I
5
need to
years.
drive to California and threaten somebody at this point.
Just knock on Mr. Google's door and say, "Hey, Mr. Google, change my name in the internet, please." So, the last thing we want to plug is obviously the Giantbomb Community Endurance Run. This is why we are all here. This is why Lindsay and I got to talk. She, as well as Bits and Pixels, donated this awesome gift box full of all kinds of cool goodies. It just sold for a whopping 100 euros. Once again, very happy about that.
Yay!
That's gonna send like
Thank
a
you,
half of a
European
kid to
guys.
school. That's gonna send a half a child to school for a year. So we're making differences in people's half lives.
As long as it's the top half, you know, with the brain and everything, it's fine.
Yeah, basically. So we are doing this thing, Giantbomb Community Endurance Run. It's still happening right now, people. Right now, as of this recording, I should say. If this goes up as a VOD later, it may not be the case. But we are currently raising money for a charity called Pencils of Promise, where we build schools, train teachers, and send kids to school in developing nations. This is Giantbomb Community Endurance Run Spring 2016, and our goal is to raise $4,000. That would send 16 kids to school. I think we're at something like 2,600 right now with a whole day of cool content to go. So on that note, get donating, get spreading the word. This thing needs to be exploding on social media. So I think that's going to wrap it up for this segment. One last time, thank you very much, Lindsay. Thank you very much, Bits and Pixels, for helping out.
Me.
It was wonderful. I look forward to getting smacked by you in Diddy Kong Racing at PAX East. And maybe we'll go on some other adventures as well while we're up there. Thank you to the chat. Thank you to the stream. Thank you to everyone. No one asked any questions, so we're off the hook there. Dodged a bullet. I did not want to have to deal with any of those monkeys in the chat. But we're all done. So thank you. We can wrap it up. Till next time, everyone. See you next time. Peace.
Hey guys.
Bye.
Bye.